Thank you, Madam Chair. This week, I'm hosting my 16-year-old niece, Ruby, as an intern in my office, and she's been listening to this hearing. And it's been very difficult to have to explain to her that for her in her short life so far, she is the first generation of young women in this country who are going to have fewer rights than the women that came before them. And that is a very difficult conversation to have because she just doesn't understand. She sees these issues in her 16-year-old mind, as smart as she is, as a healthcare issue. And all I hear is a bunch of um, uh, conversations where the word abortion, abortion, abortion is meant as a negative term. Um, and, Dr. Francis, you just said that one of the benefits of Roe in your mind is that we can now have a robust conversation about this issue. I would suggest that you stop throwing the word abortion around because you think it's one that is going to raise the emotions above a having a reasonable conversation in a word that has been weaponized, in my opinion, by certain people in this country. Because if we're going to have a real conversation about this, we have to stop using language that is, going to prevent an actual meaningful conversation from happening. Even before the Supreme Court issued the Dobbs decision, um, we anti-abortion activists and Republican lawmakers, we know, had spent years restricting abortion access. Many states have passed onerous abortion restrictions designed by political ideologues to create barriers to care and discourage abortion. For women who have already made their decision, many of whom are in actual crises, these barriers delay care and can be devastating. Dr. Verma, what barriers, if you, I know that we've talked, a lot of people have, talked about this before, but I think it's important to talk about the barriers that your patients faced in accessing abortion before the Dobbs decision and how those barriers are compounded now.
Thank you so much for that question and for sharing your story and your daughter's story. So, people have absolutely, in many parts of this country, faced restrictions and burdens to accessing the abortion care they need for many, many years. I've seen this in the South, which is my home. And I think it's important to recognize that these bans on abortion, restrictions on abortion, disproportionately affect those from already marginalized groups like people of color, people of lower financial means. And so these barriers are, for example, some of the things that we face in Georgia. I mentioned the mandatory waiting period. We're required by the state to read particular scripts that are not medically accurate. As doctors, we're trained to consent our patients. I provide informed consent to all my patients for any procedure, including abortion. I talk to them about all of the options, including continuing the pregnancy, and I'm happy, as someone who provides full spectrum OBGYN, to support them if they decide to continue the pregnancy. And so what we know that these barriers are doing are they're just making it harder for people to get the care they need. They are not making the care safer, and they are disproportionately affecting already marginalized communities.
Dr. Resnick, do you think there is potential for the impacts of these bans to be felt beyond reproductive health care?
Yes, I think as we've talked about a little bit today, we are seeing a number of areas and a number of specialties where physicians are having a hard time getting patients the treatments and the medications they need because so many questions are being asked when patients are trying to get medications or other things they need.
Professor Lippman, we've talked a bit today about the general chaos the court's decision has already created, but I'd like to ask for your thoughts about what the decision will mean for access to health care. That's because that's what we're talking about. As time progresses and the consequences of Dobbs evolve and emerge, what do you think it will mean for patient access, not only to abortion, but to reproductive health care more broadly?
Thank you for that question, which will allow me to correct some misinformation. As a legal expert, I can say it is the fault of the restrictive abortion laws that are on the books that individuals are being denied access to potentially life-saving care. We have already seen a report out of Texas that people are being delayed or potentially denied life-saving miscarriage care. Over half of the people who are delayed or denied in being able to access miscarriage care experience severe complications, including losing blood, including life-saving infections. We are already seeing hospital attorneys advise people that they cannot provide individuals with life-saving care because of the laws that are on the books.
Thank you. I yield back.